Welcome to CRE Unplugged. I'm your co-host Ryan Elazari. Nadine won't be with us today, but I'll do my best to be on my best behavior. On today's episode of CRE Unplugged, I'm joined by Richard Reyes, CEO and Executive Director of OSCRE International and VP of Digital Strategy at ConnexFM. With roots in digital strategy through his work at ConnexFM and now hosting FutureBuilt on November 13, Richard brings a rare perspective that bridges trades, data architecture, and enterprise strategy. We are so thankful to have Richard on the show because he's not just talking about digital transformation, he's building that foundation for it. From creating what he calls a smart data highway to rethinking how culture and technology work together, he's helping define the future of how real estate operates together. Richard, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me. I'm loving this episode. I know I will. I've listened to other episodes you've had on this podcast, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk about not only FutureBuilt, but our industry and how technology is impacting it.
I'm very flattered that you've listened to our podcast. I don't know if I should say sorry or thank you, but
Thank you. It's good enough.
all right, great. Yeah, thanks. So where are you recording right now with us? Like where are you at?
Yeah, so I'm in Dallas, Texas, specifically Irving, which is there's an area called Las Colinas by DFW Airport. It's by design where we're at here at the ConnexFM. I'll call it ConnexFM OSCRE headquarters here in Irving, Texas. So we've been here for several years. So it makes it easier for a lot of folks who are members with our associations to make it into Dallas and come visit us, say hi. We always love that. And we love our members and just having opportunities to chat with them and understand some of the challenges that they're having in the industry.
Yeah, I'll be sure to come visit you guys whenever I make it out there. Are you born and raised in Texas?
Oh, wow. You can tell. Is the accent that strong? I try to hide it, but hey, I can't do it anymore. So I gave up years ago. But yes, I was born in Central Texas and had an opportunity to learn a lot about a strong work ethic where I grew up. It was a rural part of Texas where I grew up. But for some reason, I was born with a knack to be able to understand technology, maybe because I would say, born into it, understanding it. My father bought my first computer when I was 11 years old, and the computer was $3,500 for a desktop, and gave it to me. I learned some programming languages early on, but you know, through that, I had spent a lot of time with my father growing up on our ranch in Texas. So you can't be in Texas without having some experience with a ranch. So I had that experience. I really looked myself as more as cheap labor instead of a son who was actually learning a strong work ethic. But over the years, it gave me an opportunity to understand what hard work looked like physically and also building out mental endurance. And that's helped me in my career today as CEO of OSCRE and head of digital strategy here at ConnexFM. And I attribute a lot. I thank my father for that, for giving me that experience.
I gotta say, having a strong work ethic really goes a long way. I'm sure you heard of The Rock,
Yes.
and he talks about his strong work ethic is because he grew up in such poverty
Yeah.
that he wanted to never go back to where he was, and that
Yeah.
helped fuel him
Yeah.
to become the success that
Yeah.
he is today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really important. Like I wonder, you being a rancher, did
Uh-huh.
that help shape you being a leader and also being the person that you are today?
Oh yeah. At a very young age, I mentioned my father. My grandfather was also he's ex-military, and I worked with him a lot during the summer because my father had a full-time job. So a lot of times, my grandfather, when I was 16 years old, he had put me in charge of a group of men working on different things that involve some hard labor. And so early on, he taught me how to help guide people, how to lead them well, how to lead by example. The Rock, you mentioned him. I really love him. I like a lot of his motivation discussions and quotes that he has, but he's right. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you don't like The Rock, but I do. But The Rock, he's right. Strong work ethic. He talks about eating clean, and we can get into this a little deeper if you want to. But eating clean, working out, maintaining a good balance in your work life as best as you can. Work is going to always be there. That's a fact of life, and you've got to figure out a way to make sure that you balance that out with other things. But I believe in hard work, a good work ethic. And growing up on a ranch, I was taught how to do that by leading folks, by endurance, working from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. or when the sun went down all my summers. And in the Texas heat, it's no joke. So in the 1980s, and I don't want to age myself, but I am. I was a very young man, and at the age of 10 years old, I was put on the back of a trailer to haul square bales, and it was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. But it taught me a lot. Taught me a lot,
Yeah,
Ryan.
the Texas heat is no joke. It's
No.
dry heat too, so it's
Oh,
really
yeah.
hard to kind of
Yeah.
be able to sustain all that. But I'm a warm weather person.
Yeah.
Even though I grew up in the Northeast, I
Yeah.
really love the warm weather, so it doesn't really affect me.
Yeah.
But my wife, like she's not a fan of it, so we always have to choose places that are
Yeah.
mild heat to go
Yeah.
visit. But yeah, she's a dietitian by trade, so she always
Yeah.
talks to me about clean eating. So I can't get
Yeah.
away from that as well, Richard.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had it ingrained into me. And you talk about your wife. My wife's a fellow native Texan also. So both of us together, we grew up eating certain foods that may have not been the best foods to eat where we grew up. But thankfully, over the years, and having kids, is we've educated them on how to eat clean. And guess what? Today in their lives, they do it, and they're successful financiers here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and in Denver, Colorado, and they've done really well with that.
Yeah, body and mind. You gotta
Exactly.
keep those in check. Yeah, I definitely
Exactly.
agree with you. Um,
100%.
yeah, you called yourself an assembler of people.
Yeah.
So what does assembling mean in business when you're focused on building something?
Yeah, that's a great question. Early in my career, I worked for a company called Anderson Consulting. Today, it's known as Accenture. So uh, early on, I would just work with people, and I had this knack or this ability to be able to just speak to people of different experience levels, different ages, different generation gaps, and bringing these people together for a common objective. So one of the partners at Anderson Consulting noticed that and had me quickly lead a global project of about 2,000 people. Of course, with her guidance, I was fresh out of college, but it really wasn't the technology. Really wasn't my understanding of everything. What she wanted was someone who could come in and assemble people, bring them together for a united purpose. And that purpose in those days were projects, global projects specifically that we worked on. And I've always had the ability, and I was given that gift to be able to talk to different people of different age groups, always listening to them. I think that's probably the most important thing. Not speaking so much, but listening and helping people and being a servant and a good steward of what I've been given, and then just sharing that with others, and then driving home whatever transformation, migration that we were working on back in those days. And that was in the late 90s, early 2000s. Technology's evolved so much and so fast. It is now even more critical, I believe, to be an assembler. And that's what I want to do, is assemble things in the built environment, as I call it.
I completely agree with
Yeah.
you. I'm curious, do you feel that you've always been a personable person, or is that something you kind of been able to develop as a skill?
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to tell you, I attended the greatest university in the world, Baylor University.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, I went in with that ability. It was inherent to me naturally. But when I went to college at the university level, I had some mentors who taught me very well. And they taught me to speak. And they said, we're going to have to get rid of the Texas slang, the y'all, the ain'ts, the this, that, the fixing to finish the report. We're going to get rid of all that. So I sat with different people, not only in English speaking classes, but also in Spanish speaking classes. So I could do conversational, but not business Spanish. So that was great first step in me developing that from another language in English, and then developing it in French. And with those three things, it allowed me to be able to communicate to folks across the globe when I worked at Anderson. And I was able to communicate with different people, different time zones, different cultures, right? And understanding that and being sensitive to that and wanting to be a part of that culture. So I know we'll get into that here in a moment with organizations, but in real life, those are important things.
Yeah, I just by speaking with you, I can just like I could already tell how you can relate with like people one on one so well.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
a real gift and it's a real skill.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've got that kind of skill down with,
Yeah.
developing that in college is really great.
Yeah.
I want to know, where do you think are like the biggest data blind spots are right now in commercial real estate?
Yeah, I think to me, what I've seen, and I'm just not going to say commercial real estate, I've been dealing with data for the past 25 years. And the early days of what we call relational database management systems like SQL Server, Oracle, Sybase, I think, which has now been deprecated and pulled into SQL Server. But now we have a lot of cloud-based solutions, right? And you have AWS, you've got Google Cloud, you've got Azure that actually store different types of structures or data structures specifically in how to store your data. But the data in of itself is still siloed. And I
Yeah.
know that's purposeful for some organizations, but it makes it very complicated for organizations to be able to do benchmarking and comparisons because the data is so siloed, and over time people have stayed rooted in that through in their organizations. And we all have responsibilities. So your chief analytics officer, your chief data officer, they're responsible for maintaining the data there in their organization. But what if, and I just posed this question, what if we were able to share our data, maybe not every detail, but at least the key component parts that matter in the commercial real estate world? Let's take, for example, energy and sustainability with a
Yeah.
lot of these commercial real estate buildings. East Coast maybe have a little bit more restrictions. The UK, they have restrictions on energy usage and capacity within a facility. What if we were just to take some of that data to be able to do benchmarking across the commercial real estate industry? I think it's valuable, and that's part of what we're trying to do here at Connex and OSCRE.
Richard, I don't know if you've read the book called Peak Property Performance by Bill Douglas.
No, I have not.
But it's a great book. You should
Uh-huh.
definitely read it. I'm actually going to be interviewing the authors in a few weeks for our next episode. But I'm bringing this up because they talk about how in a building they have different hardware IoT solutions. So there's
Right.
20 different or more data points going on in a building.
Yeah.
And a lot of these owners don't even know where their data is being stored, where there's data is being taken, do they have ownership of their data? It's really shocking that that
Yeah.
still exists, and there's no one to tell them like, hey, what are you doing here? That data is not only valuable, but you could use it in such a great way to be able to
Yeah.
use it to lower your carbon footprint or figure out different ways to optimize your building.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a very good observation. And I do want to say, because I've been in the role of working for an organization like a commercial real estate company. I had the opportunity I mentioned earlier to do consulting, but I also spent some time working in the financial services, banking industry, energy industry. And a lot of times the reason this data gets to that point, it's no one's fault. The amount of data that we have accumulated over the past 20 years has grown dramatically. Prior to sensors and Alexas and Google Home and Apple Watches and all these devices that we've developed over time, we didn't have all the data that we're accumulating right now. And over the past 20 years, we have all this data that's been accumulating. The same thing has happened within each organization. So it's really hard for someone to come in as a leader. I doubt in these days it's really difficult to do this, but to stay at an organization for 20 or 30 years and be able to work specifically on that data set over the years for that organ, it doesn't happen. People leave, people come, they rotate, there's attrition. So what happens is the data starts to become fragmented. So then what you lose is the integrity of that data. And data stewardship is of high importance in today's world, especially with the amount of data that we have.
Yeah, I think data, it's been talked about for years. Data is king.
Yeah,
You need to be able to have structured data
yeah,
because without the structured data, not only can you not implement all the AI solutions that are out there, but
exactly.
you as a company are not going to be able to bring forth what you want to bring out
Yeah.
to a building. So I definitely agree with you there. But a lot of people argue that culture is what's slowing down digital transformation, not just technology itself.
Mhm.
Would you agree, or do you think that's just an excuse that leaders have when change fails?
I completely agree with you. And it's interesting that you bring this up in the other book and the author that you'll be interviewing because you're interviewing an author here also. So my book that I wrote in 2018 is DX Strategy, Thinking About Digital Transformation. So I had an opportunity to do some studies at MIT, and it was around digital technologies. Guess what? The one thing that they focused on more in these courses than technology, it was culture. It was the people. Before you can even start looking at a strategy, you have to understand the culture and the people within the organization. So I think when folks come into roles and they're having to manage all that data, there's a I would say there's a stigma, there's a concept that a lot of these executives that are over data think, well, I've got to come in and use technology to fix this.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that should happen, and what I talk about in my book that I wrote, is that every family has a culture. We spent time talking about in the beginning of this podcast, talking about culture, where I came from, who I am, what it meant to me. I brought up family, I brought up time, I brought up work ethic. You've got to understand all the different aspects and components of an organization because the culture, the people make a big part of that culture, right? And how they act, how they work. That's the heartbeat of every organization. And I truly believe that if you can understand the culture of your organization and you can get other folks to do the same thing, and then you can assemble those folks and bring them together to have discussions about culture and how that fits into the whole data hygiene and data stewardship of what we're trying to do in our industry today, I think it would make huge strides in what we can do in the built environment.
Oh, 100%. You're really preaching to the choir here. And I think when at my previous firm, we always talked about how to best conduct change management,
Right.
get our team to embrace technology.
Hmm.
And it's really just a lot of hand holding and making sure
Yeah,
that they feel comfortable. And
exactly.
making excuses, I don't think really is the
Yeah.
best path forward. You just, as you said, hard work can
Yeah.
deliver the best results. And I
Yes.
think that's hard, like creating a culture is hard work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
And
was on
they
a
talk about it in the NFL all the time, right?
They do. They do. And I was actually
Yeah.
on a call earlier for an event that we're hosting next week in DC. One of the panelists was saying garbage in, garbage out. If we don't
Yeah.
put the effort in, we don't put the time in to plan appropriately, you're not going to get what you want out of it. So I've had the opportunity in the commercial real estate industry to work with some really fascinating people, knowledgeable people, and these folks. I'm just so impressed with the amount of knowledge they have, and there is a big understanding around culture in the CRE industry. But I think we can take it a step further and bring it all together.
So let's talk about this event that you just mentioned, FutureBuilt. It's on November 13 in
Yeah.
DC. What inspired you to help create this event, and how is it going to be different from all the other events out there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I started ConnexFM about 2 years ago. So ConnexFM stands for Connecting Facility Management. So the facility management world, these professionals, they manage the facility, they manage a building. About a year ago, it came to my attention that a CEO or the CEO for Oscar International was going to retire. Long story short, I met with the board. They interviewed several organizations and they chose ConnexFM to manage Oscar after the CEO's departure and made me the CEO executive director of Oscar International. And that was a huge compliment in the trust that they had in what we were trying to do. So I started digging in deeper into data standardization, governization of what OSCRE International has been doing for over 25 years, not only here in the US, but also in the UK and Europe. And what I came to the realization was that folks on the commercial real estate side care about things that the FMs want. The FMs care about a facility and it's where it was born, cradle to grave, how that looked. And I thought, why not just bring the two worlds together? So we brought the two organizations together. But again, back to culture and people, it's like they're operating in different silos in their worlds. And I get that part because the commercial real estate, after the building is leased, it's sold, it's purchased, the facility management organization, or we'll say retailer, they're the ones who are managing that facility. But what if we could bring the worlds together, and what if we could capture all the data, as I put it earlier, cradle to grave, and be able to have a holistic view of everything from beginning to end? That would be very powerful in folks making different types of investment decisions, purchases, part of their planning. And I think bringing those two worlds together, it would make things a lot better, a lot easier for us in understanding data. And FutureBuilt is different in that way because it's a platform of bringing and merging the worlds together with a tech focus. So you got FM tech, you got CRE tech, you got prop tech. A lot of shows that I go to, events, conferences, whatever you want to talk to, they're specifically just about pure technology. But this is more than that. This is building a new culture in our industry, not just solely within the organization, and a new mindset. And that's the goal of what we're trying to accomplish with FutureBuilt next week in DC.
I think you really came up with something that's pretty revolutionary
Yeah,
because I think that's what's missing right now in
yeah,
our industry.
yeah,
And there's a lot of events, there's a lot of conferences out there where people want to talk about AI. They'll talk about the future of real estate. But I
mhm,
think if we want to really learn about the transformation that's happening with
yeah,
technology, with data, you kind of have to learn the foundation first before you could even get to learning about all the different solutions that are out there.
yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. And in the CRE world, as I've worked with a lot of commercial real estate organizations, some of the largest organizations in the world are members of OSCRE International. So we have CBRE, and you've heard of Yardi and Cherry, and a lot of these
Yeah.
organizations that are out there that help support and build software for some of the commercial real estate companies that are out there. They have a lot of work to do from their perspective and what they're doing and in that world. But I think bringing folks together, it's just a lack of interoperability. I hate to be too technical,
Yeah.
but if we can bring those operations together and have them work together, I truly believe that it would help. And this is how I know. And this is why I seem so confident in that. When I started in this role and we ended up managing and I took the helm at OSCRE International, I had several pioneers from the past, reputable folks who are close to retirement or in their retirement years. And they called me and they said, you have OSCRE International, you're helping to manage that, and you work at ConnexFM. For so long, we have tried to understand the life cycle of a building. And you have an opportunity to be a pioneer in this. And for so long, no one has taken the helm and tried to assemble everyone together in those industries to bring them together with one sole purpose of understanding it. And data can be the core of that consolidating. Data is the new gold, is what my CEO at ConnexFM says. And I love that phrase. It is the new gold. So if you can master your data and become a good steward of it, develop hygiene with that data, it is powerful. And the world's moving that way. We don't have a lot of time. Things are changing every week. Go read the newspaper about OpenAI, all the Gen AI stuff that's out there, and the LLMs that are being developed, and digital twinning, and all the new technologies. All that's fun and great, but you got to make sure you understand every part and facet of what we're trying to do as an industry.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more on that front.
Yeah.
And I'm think you really hit it right on the head with what you're doing with this event. And
Yeah.
I really wish you all the success because I want this to keep continuing year after
Mhm.
year because the more we educate and the more we tell people about the importance of data, I
Yeah,
think we'll be better as an industry.
exactly. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I want to talk about there's a lot of stuff on the news with layoffs happening in Amazon and other companies. And I just want to know like what advice do you have for the younger generation who are trying to enter a tough job market,
Mhm.
especially with the advancement of AI?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great another great question. I do believe that it is really important to read and to study. So whatever platform you choose to do that with your iPad, your phone, computer, podcasts like this, I think are really great because what it does, it gets the word out, right?
Yeah,
So once you get that word and you understand it and you're able to grasp what those concepts are, that knowledge that you develop over time as a young person is going to help you be the type of person that can assemble and bring people together. So we talk about AI, you talk about a lot of these layoffs. One big question I get from more of a technology perspective is have AI fear. They're scared to death that their job is going to be replaced by AI.
yeah,
It's happening in some areas. So what you're going to have to do as a young professional is you're going to have to learn how to develop your soft skills, how to be able to conversate, how to be able to be on platforms and talk to people. Learn yourself and then take the knowledge that you get and be a good steward of that and give that back to the community, give it back to the world, to the next generation. I mentioned earlier, I spoke with some of these folks that have been in previous generations in this industry. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pass the knowledge on to me. So I take that and it's important to me and I want to use it for the betterment of not only for what we have in our industry, but for the world. It's a lot bigger than just commercial real estate, right? We live in a world and a society with folks, so we've got to be able to understand that. And I believe if you can master those soft skills, let everything else play out and you'll be fine.
let's talk about the future with a lot of the
Mhm.
even younger generation
Mhm.
with this advancement of AI. I know you have a background in trades. I've talked to a lot of my colleagues and friends, and they've told me like, "Hey, we're gonna start teaching. We might just have our kids learn a trade instead of going to college because I think that's going to be more valuable than getting a college degree." I want to get your opinion on that. Is that what's gonna end up happening in the future?
I think it is. I don't think technology, and I'm going to use part of my background at the university level is in management information systems, which isn't, you'll get the debate. It's not software engineering, it's different. It's more focused on business, but still, it's understanding how technology can build out the future. At ConnexFM, last 2 years ago, sorry, 2 years ago, we had our national conference, and our guest speaker was Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe had a series on Discovery Channel, I believe, called Dirty Jobs. And if you're not
Yeah.
familiar with him, what he did on this show is he went out and he took the initiative to replicate some of the dirtiest jobs in the world with folks across the U.S. And it was really an interesting show to watch. But his perspective and his thought process behind it, and I tend to agree with him mostly, not 100%. But what he's saying is that if you're so worried about AI taking over everything, then don't get into technology. It's going to
Right.
be really hard for AI to be reproduced or to replace. We talked about ranching, someone who manages a ranch or a farm. Here in America, those are important jobs and roles that we have. Welders, carpenters, electricians, plumbers. It's going to be hard for AI to replace that. I'm not saying technology won't ever have a role in it, but go out and learn those trade skills is what Mike is saying. And he's saying if you can go do that when you graduate from a trade school, you may owe 20,000 in debt. Whereas if you go to a major university, and let's just take a private university, you're looking at 200 to $300,000 for 4 years. He said they're graduating with mortgages. He goes to come out and make almost the same. So I think the trade skills is a good route to take. And I think it's really a good route to take if you're entrepreneurial, if
Right.
that's your focus, if you want to start your own business and do that. So to that point, I have a 17-year-old son. Guess what he wants to do? Dad, I don't want to sit in the office like you do. I don't want to do what you do. And I said, yeah, but it's fun. He said, yeah, you like that. But I want to go do trades. I want to learn something on my own. I want to build smart tiny homes, smart buildings into tiny homes. I want to use technology and stuff that you've taught me and stuff that you do and start building homes that maybe it's for people who can't afford homes. Let's try to find a good price point. So that's a lot of wisdom from a 17-year-old that he's seen and heard already in this world.
That's pretty incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, kudos to your son for kind
Yeah.
of understanding what's needed right now. I mean,
Yeah.
affordable, I mean, right now you need 6 million homes to
Yeah.
be able to supply homes right now for in the United States.
Hmm.
So anyone that could get in there and start
Yeah.
building homes for the people who need it, I
Yeah.
mean, that's just great. I mean, really, your son's on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it's just action, right? So now he's got to do it. So I told him, let's do it. I'll help you. But that's it. It goes back to that too. And we talked about supporting, helping one another, passing knowledge from generation to generation. I think in summary, that's what I would say with today's generation, today's world. We got to help them.
Yeah.
No, no Gen X this, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials. We're not in competition with one another. Let's help the past generations help the newer generations. But guess what? I've met folks who are younger than me that have way more wisdom than I do. So I'll sit and I'll listen to them and I learn things. So don't forget about that. Don't displace that. That's still valuable to have.
That makes me feel really good because from my standpoint and from what I'm hearing is that a lot of these younger folks, they want to be content creators. They want to be able to do something that's in front of their phone instead
Hmm.
of doing like the hard work like trades and
Right.
and building homes, let's say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that gives me a lot of solace that there's people like your son and people that you've talked to
Yeah.
that understand what hard work means
Yeah.
and using their hands to get dirty
Yeah.
and do really great things.
Yeah. That's right. Dirty jobs.
Dirty jobs. Yeah. Well, this is CRE Unplugged. I have to ask you a hot take here from your end. If you could
Right.
challenge one sacred truth in commercial real estate, what would it be?
So I brought up the fact of data silos earlier, and I did that in a meeting in New York earlier in the year. Some of the responses I got is we want them to stay siloed.
Wow.
That right there. Figuring out a way to change the mindset of folks who have been told that by their organizations. And I get data governance and data protection and data security. I get that. And we have to be careful with that. But there are ways. You can't tell me that with AI, digital twinning, and all these other technologies that we have out there, that there's no way that we cannot share data without protecting it. I mean, even back in my programming days, we masked data. So you may not get the whole number. You still get that with a credit card, right? So it's a mask number. You see the last four digits in most purchases that you make. But understanding that if we can share data and not be I would just say that stigma of just keeping your data separate because it needs to stay separate and no one else needs to see it. I think we've got to figure out a way to change that. So that's the one thing I would say.
That really surprises me that
Yeah.
people are still closed-minded.
Yeah.
And because there's such great cybersecurity now that has
Yeah.
been created to kind of guard you from your data privacy being released.
Yeah.
So is that really the issue, or is just they just don't want to think?
I think that's one issue. I think the other is
Yeah.
intellectual property
Okay.
and
Yeah.
information that they've gathered over the years. You take OSCRE International, you'll take them, for example. What
Yeah.
we have developed as far as a data blueprint, technologically speaking, it's a logical data model with entities and relationships that are built into that. What we're doing is we're getting a lot of folks who are much more advanced in modern technologies and saying, hey, we really want to work with OSCRE. There's no way we can do AI, we can do this, we can do that. but we can't accumulate 27 years of entities and relationships across the CRE industry. What you guys have there is, guess what? Gold again. It's gold. So what we want to do is develop a platform where we can share that. So we want to take action into what I've been preaching on this podcast, and that's the next step. We'll announce some of that at FutureBuilt and talk through data stewardship and data structures and a smart data highway. And folks, I think will be interested in what we have to say.
That's really great. And again, I think what you're doing is really important right now, and I'm really excited for what's
Yeah,
to come. Okay, let's stop talking shop now. I kind of want to learn more about you, the
yeah.
person. How do you unplug? What hobbies do you have?
I'm going to say, and it's the cliche answer, I work out a lot. I work out at least 6 days a week. So, I'm not this big heavy weightlifter, but I lift enough weight to be respectable still by my son and his buddies in football at 17 years old. I have played pickup basketball for the past 25 years, and I don't do it as much as I used to, but I still play basketball. I love the competition aspect of it. Especially again, I don't mean to pick on the younger people, but my son and his buddies, I love it when I beat them, and shows that you still got it right. So when you can do that right there, what you just did, you can laugh, have fun. It helps you to unplug a lot easier. And just setting a lot of times by myself, just to run everything back through my mind that we have actually done as an organization here at Connex and OSCRE International. And the people that we have touched, the people we've been around, that time of solace and just being alone and thinking through things and being grateful for what I have. I think that's a big aspect to it. And I'll be honest with you, my wife, having conversations with her and just airing things out that I have ideas on and this and that. She's been my biggest supporter, and she says, go out and do it. So that's how I unplug.
Yeah, yeah, we're both lucky. We have wives that really back us up and help us grow
Yeah.
as people. But I want to talk about pickup basketball. I've been playing it my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a much better pickup player than organized basketball player. I
Yes.
never got along with my coaches. It always ended up not working out for me when we would
Yeah.
play organized ball with refs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing pickup my whole life. Like, are you more of a shooter or do you like to drive inside?
Oh, yeah.
What's
So,
what's what's uh what's your
yeah.
specialty?
If you can't tell, I'm only like 5'9". I'm not that tall. So I am a shooter. It's really hard for me. I'm not saying you can't dunk. I had the opportunity here in Dallas to play with an ex-Dallas Cowboy wide receiver. I'll say his name, Cole Beasley. If you're out there, you're listening to me. I still can beat you at basketball, but he was a great NFL football player for the Cowboys. I think he went to the Bills for some time, but we were shooters. I shoot threes, stay on top of the key. I wait for the big guys to go down low. They kick it out, and then there goes the three. So I developed an ability to be able to shoot threes left and right, and it's a lot of fun. And it's really fun when people see me come out there and they're like, "Well, you don't look like the typical basketball player." So we'll see. And I really don't say anything. Just let my actions speak. Don't say anything and just go out and do it.
Yeah, go out and do it. Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot of pleasure into people doubting you and then you just performing on the court
Oh,
and then
you
they're just
know,
like
you
shocked.
know, you know it, and I do, but I try not to rub it in. But I carry that same mentality over into my career, and that's the same thing. I want people to doubt what we can do. I don't inherently want them to doubt, but they're going to doubt. I take that doubt because it motivates me. It pushes me to do better and to push the limits so much so that we can achieve things that have never been achieved before. And that's my mentality.
All right. Yeah. I think next time you come to New York, we should play some pickup. If not, I'll come see you down in Texas. I'm happy to see you shoot the rock.
I'll be back there next year. I'll be back
Yeah.
there next year. So yeah,
All
I'll
right.
I'll make sure, Ryan.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us, Richard. This was such a great interview, and I'm really happy that you've come on and kind of preached what a lot of us want people to hear. So really, I'm
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan. I loved it.
All right, be sure to stay tuned for my takeaways after a word from our sponsor. Hey there, CRE Unplugged fam. We would like to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the Game Changers over at Hilo, the customer experience platform for buildings that's turning heads in the real estate world.
That's right. Can we talk about how Hilo is transforming the way we manage properties and create unforgettable experiences? Ryan, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about Hilo?
Well, Nadine, it's all about reducing friction in property management. Hilo is like the magic wand that makes everything seamless and efficient. Say goodbye to those time-consuming tasks and hello to streamlined operations and communications.
Efficiency is crucial, but what about personalized experiences? Hilo takes it to the next level with a vision to tailor each interaction to the needs and preferences of its customers.
And let's not forget the community aspect. Hilo builds vibrant, connected communities. It's fostering a sense of belonging and togetherness.
Now, here's something that truly sets Hilo apart: their commitment to advancing ESG initiatives. They're not just about buildings, they're about making a positive impact on the environment. That's a win-win for everyone.
So, to our listeners out there, if you're ready to elevate your properties, digitize and enhance customer experience, and maximize satisfaction, Hilo is the answer. Please visit hiloapp.com for more information. That's hiloapp.com. What stood out to me in this conversation with Richard is how grounded his approach to innovation really is. He's not just talking about technology for the sake of talking about it. He's talking about assembling people, ideas, and systems so they actually work together. He made such a powerful point about how culture, not technology, is often the real barrier to progress. And that really hit home. I think change management is really key into adopting technology, especially when AI and data platforms come into play. Because if your team doesn't trust the data or understand how to use it, you're just not making any progress. I also loved how he connected the dots between the trades and digital strategy. Here's a guy who started out working out with his hands. Now he's building digital infrastructure for the entire industry. It's a full circle story, and it highlights how valuable it is to blend that practical experience with digital vision. And finally, Richard really reminded me that leadership in this new era isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about connecting people. And at the end of the day, real estate is a relationship business. And being able to connect people to one another is really key to success. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much to Richard Reyes, CEO of OSCRE and VP of Digital Strategy at ConnexFM. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to reach us, or if you want to have us answer any questions on air, you can email us at info@creunplugged.com or through our website at creunplugged.com. See you next time, and keep your conversations real and unplugged.